Connie Willis, the podcast. Taking you into new ways of thinking, even providing answers to questions you've often pondered. Connie Willis, the podcast. This is a Connie Willis exclusive. Whistleblower. What you're about to hear has never been heard anywhere else. This is Connie Willis, the podcast.
Connie Willis back with the private military, government contractor, and U.S. Navy Special Warfare veteran. Robert Treat is with us discussing his life, his background, and what he sees for the future and what he has learned along the way that he's going to tell us about. Whistleblower, informant, these are the names that a lot of people will tag on to him. It's Robert Treat, as well as deathbed confession. However, he's got a chance to make it through. Go to the GoFundMe that is in the description. Take a look, see where you can help.
Informant.
I was drinking beer down Hotel Street. You know, that was like the party spot for, Navy.
This is in Hawaii, right?
This is in Hawaii, yeah. And I met this little Japanese guy. We'll call him Glen. He was an American citizen, born and raised, but he was a CIA officer. And he approached me in this little bar called Two Jacks. And we just sat there drinking beer till the bar closed. And then we went down to the beach and we were just talking. And towards the end of the night, he asked me if I was interested in doing some side jobs. And at this point, I had a pretty expensive wife and 5 very expensive stepchildren. So I was all about making some extra money. And therein led into a whole life of adventure with this guy. He would call me up over the years on a regular basis and like, hey, you want to go do this for me? And I'm like, oh, hell yeah, let's go. That's going to be a pretty wild story in itself. Just the things I did with Glen and for Glen that led me to a lot of the information that we're going to talk about tonight.
That you're going to disclose to us. So, okay, so are you no longer in the Navy at this point?
I'm right at the tail end. I'm getting ready to get out.
Okay, tell us about that. So this guy, while you were having McDonald's and enjoying the beach and Hawaii and the beauty that it offers you, my future home, this guy comes up and then he's with the DOD and he asks you to take these tests, and then you do okay with some of these things, kind of normal, whatever. You're like, I've never even been asked these things before, but then he asked you about colors and going into this state, meditative state and colors, and then all of a sudden the blue pearl, boom, you're there quicker than anybody. He stops everything. And then does he just let you go out the door and that's it before the 3 weeks later where you met Glen?
Yeah, it was more like, a get out.
Wow, that's funky, isn't it?
Like, he just did not want to have anything really more to do with me. It kind of freaked him out. And I didn't really understand why it was freaking him out.
Well, what was he looking for? Any idea? I mean, I would think that that's what he would want to have found. It's what he seemed to be looking for.
Yeah, I don't really know what he was looking for. If he was part of the, the Men That Stare at Goats program,
Oh, hey, I know all those guys. Absolutely. Yeah.
True story. They actually did that stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
So I didn't know if he was looking to recruit me into something like that.
Ah, I see.
Quite possible. But I really don't have an answer.
Well, you actually going there is pretty cool, and he didn't want any part of it. So that's interesting too, because if I was in a whole nother field and I knew if somebody could get that quickly to the Blue Pearl, and I would probably know, I'm just thinking if he's in a state of knowing he might know that you're something other than what he wanted. Because all the different departments, I know that some of these people would say, oh, I was in this area. They were over in that area. Especially when you talk with the remote viewers, they'll actually tell you, no, they were on another project similar to the fact that it's different and unique, but it's not the same as this. So,
And then
interesting.
meeting Glenn right after that.
Yeah, I wonder, did he go, okay, hey Glenn, I just want to give you a call. There's one of your buddies. Go have some beer with him. Yeah.
They tag, you're it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Glenn had said some things during our first conversation that I didn't bring up. So that started making me think that, was I being, had I been groomed
Yeah.
without my knowledge? I mean, if I was groomed, it certainly was not blatant or obvious. Um,
I wonder, I mean, I think it might just go back to, genetics and stuff. So,
Glenn had asked me if I had, maintained any contact with, people in Iran, and I hadn't told him yet that I
oh,
was in Iran.
oh.
And he wanted to know, about if I still kept in touch with any teachers or classmates.
Well, that's interesting.
But I'd been drinking too, so it didn't click in my head until the next day. Like, why did he ask me that? How did you know?
So let me ask you this. Looking back now, just looking back, okay, I know there's something called like 3.2 beer or something that's really not a lot of alcohol, right?
Yeah, and that's what we were drinking. That was pretty much standard back then.
Oh, okay. I just wonder if he was drinking less alcohol where it looked like he was drinking, but had you drinking so he could get answers from you, but he could still stay pretty straight. Would that have been?
Yeah, it was 3.2 beer is what they sold there.
Okay.
Yeah, but we were doing shots of Jack Daniels, and
Oh,
the bars down on Hotel Street. They used to sell weed in the bars, and they would roll it for you, light it, and
so you were doing it all and he was doing it right there with you. Okay.
oh yeah, we were having a good old time.
Okay. Could you do that and still be in the military?
No,
I
um,
didn't think so. So, okay, I'll let you finish how you got out of the military.
but they didn't. Yeah, the urinalysis tests that we took were, they were supposed to be random, and
Oh, you took your
I just,
chances.
yeah, I took my chances, but I was never tested.
Interesting. Did you find that interesting? Or is that
Yeah,
kind of normal?
I found that very interesting, especially considering the fact that my commanding officer knew darn well I smoked pot.
Wow, okay. You were pretty special to everybody, weren't you?
I didn't think so. I just thought I was getting away with something.
Mm.
I was just, I was a kid, and I thought I was just getting lucky. And it wasn't until that last year when my commanding officer stopped me in the passageway, and he's like, Treat, are you ever going to stop smoking weed? And I said, probably not. He's like,
So,
carry on. That's what he said, was carry on. I'm like, all right, I will.
just another note that I just want to throw in because I've just what my research leads to. It's interesting how you're saying these things that when you're around anything extraterrestrial, because that's where we're getting to at one point here too, but when you're around extraterrestrial type things, when you recognize it as the human recognizing these things, you just blow it off. Everything's blown off. Oh, no big deal. Oh, we're not going to test you. Oh, I guess I'm just getting lucky and that's why I'm not getting tested. Everything's just kind of blown away. And to me it goes down to, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you think about this, and I know it's coming, but it just reminds me again of the control that they have with our minds. They can turn us off and on, and anything they want us to think, we can think. And it's usually in a joyous, oh, it's okay, nothing to worry about, nothing to see here kind of thing. So, anyway, I just want to throw that in. I don't know why, I just feel like I need to do that.
Well, once you've been in contact with, the Greys or any extraterrestrial race, so many things about the human condition become trivial, not important.
Mm-hmm.
When you know things that are so far out of the mainstream, out of the
Mm-hmm.
ordinary, um, things like, whether or not you smoke pot is not important.
Well, also the fact that you're not going to get in trouble as a human. You're not going to be court-martialed, kicked out, whatever. What do they do to you in the military when they kick you out?
Yeah, we call it, captain's mass, and then if it gets more serious, it can go to an administrative review board or all the way into a court-martial. I just use the term court-martial generally because if you say captain's mass, most people aren't going to understand that.
But that's a big deal as a human, right? But you would just be like, that's okay if that happens. So,
well, for the average sailor, I think in the Army they call it Article 15. In the Navy, it's called captain's mast or a page 13. And everybody else was just terrified. I don't want to get to page 13. I'm like, who cares? What's the worst thing you're going to do? Kick me out?
Yeah. I just find it interesting that those things don't matter. And again, I'm just going back to the ET mind control that they can put on people.
And I already knew they weren't going to kick me out. It's like,
yeah.
What are you going to do? You invested millions in me. You're going to throw that, or are you just going to leave me alone? It's best for you just to leave me alone.
But you're different. Not everybody can say that.
And they liked me because, I didn't lie. I didn't try and weasel my way out of anything.
Sounds like there's more.
If you ask me a question, I'm going to give you an answer whether you like it or not.
Yeah. I'm going to have some pure attitude the whole time. Okay, so you're doing every drug possible and every shot they give you with Glen in Hawaii at the what is it called? Two Jacks?
Yeah, it was Two Jacks.
Okay, Two Jacks Bar.
This is a Connie Willis exclusive on Connie Willis, the podcast.
Yeah, that was one of many that night, but that's where it started. That's where it began, was at Two Jacks. And so Glenn, he asked me if I wanted to, do a job for him. I was like, yeah, sure, absolutely. It was only $3,000, but for me, that's a big deal. That was more than my entire paycheck for the month on a Navy check.
And just to refresh my memory, Glen is in the CIA, or?
Yes, he was an officer of the CIA as opposed to an agent. That's a big misconception, or mislabeling in civilian world and on TV. A CIA agent doesn't get his pay from the CIA. Only officers do. Right? So an officer works for the agency. They get paid by the agency. Their employment says Central Intelligence Agency.
What you just heard has never been heard anywhere else. This is Connie Willis, the podcast. Learn more about Connie, her guests, and be sure to join her private membership shows, Blue Rock Talk and Connie After Dark, at ConnieWillis.com. Whistleblower.